Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that feels both really ancient but also incredibly relevant right now.
hmm
It's this whole idea of spiritual detachment,
hmm
how to handle negativity.
Yeah.
And our source material today frames it in some really fascinating ways. It talks about negative entities, even internal demons.
Strong language.
It really is.
Mm,
And this need to sort of detach from negative stuff, it feels like it runs through so many traditions, doesn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a pretty universal theme, finding ways to cleanse or protect yourself.
We've got a really interesting source guiding us. It's excerpts from a text called Spiritual Detachment,
Yeah.
Banishing Negative Entities for Well-Being.
Okay.
And what jumped out at me straight away was the structure. He uses these repeated phrases, almost like mantras woven right into the text.
Like a built-in practice. Interesting.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to take this source, really unpack it, understand its core message about letting go of negativity's grip, whatever that looks like for you. We'll look at the philosophy behind it, the specific steps it suggests for cleansing and detachment, and see what insights it might offer you for reclaiming your own well-being, feeling more in charge of your inner space.
And it's fascinating how this source tackles that negativity. Like you said, it uses ideas with deep roots. Doesn't matter if you see them as literal spirits or more like psychological metaphors.
I think it allows for both.
It does. The source itself sort of navigates that duality. So yeah, in this deep dive, we're going to explore these ideas exactly as the source presents them,
Okay.
looking at the concepts, the challenges it describes, the specific techniques it puts forward for dealing with what it calls this inner and maybe outer terrain of negative influence.
So less about us saying this is the right way and more about understanding the map the source provides.
Precisely. We're exploring the map itself.
Okay, let's dive in then. Unpack this core idea first. Spiritual detachment. The source defines it not as like indifference or just avoiding things.
No, it's active.
Right, it's an active process, releasing yourself from the grip of negativity. That word grip feels significant, doesn't it? Like something's holding on tight.
It really does. It implies something you have to actively break free from. It's not just going to float away on its own. The source frames detachment as this deliberate, conscious act of liberation.
Liberation from what, exactly? The source gets specific.
It does. It says this negativity can show up as internal demons, external influences, or spiritual disturbances. That's a pretty wide net.
It covers a lot of ground. Internal demons.
Yeah.
It makes you think psychological stuff, right? Like self-doubt, addiction, maybe.
Or those really persistent negative thought loops we all get stuck in sometimes. Yeah.
And external influences. Toxic people, draining work environments, societal pressure, that kind of thing.
Could be all that. Stuff outside yourself that pulls you down.
Yeah.
And then it explicitly adds spiritual disturbances.
Okay, so that opens the door to understanding it more energetically, maybe, beyond just the psychological or social.
That's definitely where the source goes with it. It specifically talks about freeing yourself from malevolent entities and evil spirits.
Wow, okay, so it's not shying away from that language.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And it notes that this idea, actively confronting harmful forces, is a powerful theme found across loads of cultures and belief systems. It's tapping into something very old.
So it's not just about, don't let bad vibes get you down. It's more active, confronting something seen as genuinely harmful.
Exactly. Something that's actively detrimental to your well-being, whether you see that harm as psychological, emotional, or spiritual.
And the source presents this whole deep dive, this exploration we're doing, as looking at the philosophy, the practice, and the transformative potential of engaging with this process.
As laid out in the text itself.
Yeah.
It's presented as a pathway, a way to reclaim your inner space, your power.
Okay, let's get deeper into what the source actually means by these negative influences. Section 2 in our notes from the source is called The Nature of Negative Entities and Spiritual Disturbances. Pretty direct title.
Very direct.
It asks, what are negative malevolent entities? And then defines them as, get this, energies, spirits, or thought forms. That spectrum feels important.
It really does. Energy, spirit, thought form. It allows for different ways in, doesn't it? You could see it as just a vibrational disturbance, maybe.
Or a more traditional view, like actual beings.
Right. Or even just those really persistent negative thought patterns that almost feel like they have a life of their own. That thought form idea covers that.
But the source says what's really crucial, no matter how you define them, is what they feed on.
Yes, this is key. It explicitly says they are fueled by fear, anger, and despair.
That feels resonant. Whether you think of them as literal entities or just internal states, it makes sense that fear, anger, despair, that's the ground where negativity thrives, right?
Totally. It's like the source is saying these emotions aren't just unpleasant feelings. They actively sustain the things that hold us back or harm us.
Hmm.
They're the fuel source.
So there's this direct link implied. Those specific emotions give these influences, however you picture them, their power, their grip.
Exactly. That link between fear, anger, despair, and the persistence of negativity is central to the source's logic. It explains how these things maintain their hold, and this leads right into that dual interpretation it
Yeah,
offers.
yeah, it acknowledges people will come at this differently.
Right. So view number one, these entities, these spirits, are powerful metaphors for our inner battles.
Like addictions, bad habits.
Exactly. The source explicitly mentions addictions, destructive habits, or persistent negative thoughts. So the demons you're fighting are those deep-seated psychological patterns keeping you stuck.
So metaphorically, the malevolent entity could just be that inner critic, that voice saying you're not good enough. Or maybe a compulsion you can't shake.
Precisely. That's one way the source says you can understand it, a valid way. But, and this is important for getting the whole picture, it also presents the view where these are seen as literal spiritual beings in certain belief systems.
It doesn't pick a side.
No, it just states that both frameworks exist for understanding this stuff. It respects that range of belief and experience.
Okay.
And then it makes this really crucial point that connects the two views. It says, whether one interprets these as psychological constructs or supernatural forces, their impact is real.
Ah, so the effect is what matters, regardless of the cause you believe in.
Exactly. The experience of being negatively affected, that struggle, that pain, feeling held back the source, validates that experience.
Yeah.
It says it has real, tangible effects on your life, no matter how you explain why it's happening.
That's actually quite unifying, isn't it? It honors the struggle itself.
It does. And the source then lists the potential impacts of these evil spirits and demons, again, saying these effects are real, whether the cause is psychological or supernatural. Things like
Persistent negative thoughts, emotional turmoil.
unexplained fears or anxieties.
Yeah.
And goes on, patterns of self-sabotage, that feeling of being spiritually or energetically drained.
Okay, think about those times when your mind just won't let go of some worry, right? Or you feel just heavy, no energy. Or you keep tripping yourself up right when things are going well.
hmm The source presents those as the real-world symptoms. The evidence that these negative influences have that grip it mentioned, they're the signs something is holding you back.
That feeling drained, the mood swings, the self-sabotage. I mean, a lot of people can relate to that stuff.
Definitely. And the source suggests maybe these aren't just random bad days, but possibly signs that these influences are taking hold.
So what's the first step then, according to the source? How do you start dealing with this?
Recognition. That's what the source emphasizes above all else initially. Recognizing these influences is the first step toward liberation. You have to become aware first.
You need to actually see it happening, identify the patterns, the feelings.
Yes. See how this negative grip is showing up in your life specifically. You can't start releasing something if you don't even realize it's there. It's the absolute foundation for the whole process it describes.
So just the act of noticing, of
Yeah.
consciously saying, okay, this constant worry or this exhaustion or this pattern of messing things up, this is an influence affecting me. That awareness itself is the starting point.
It's presented as the essential first move. Without that recognition, why would you need detachment or cleansing? It's the spark. And for you listening,
Well,
have you felt those things? The negative thought loops, the fatigue, the self-sabotage, the source suggests that just identifying them not as who you are, but as influences acting upon you, that's the vital first step on this path to freedom it outlines.
okay, this next part is where it gets really interesting, and it ties right back to how the source text is actually written. That repetition I mentioned earlier.
Yes, section 3, the power of repetition and mantra. The source itself points out that the way the original text keeps repeating phrases like demons abandoned is reminiscent of a mantra, and it explains why that's significant.
Why is repetition so important here? The source lists several reasons why it's powerful, especially in like spiritual or energetic work.
Well, according to the source, repetition is a tool used across cultures for some really deep reasons. First, it says it helps to reprogram the subconscious mind.
Okay, reprogram. How?
The idea is that by consistently feeding your mind these specific chosen phrases, you can start to overwrite the old programming, the old mental habits that keep you stuck in negativity. You're consciously replacing the detrimental stuff.
That makes sense. Like how an advertising jingle gets stuck in your head, but you're doing it on purpose for a good reason.
Exactly, you're choosing the input. The source also says repetition helps reinforce positive beliefs. If you keep affirming, I am detaching, I am free, you're strengthening the belief in yourself that it's actually possible. You're pushing back against the doubt.
And it's not just internal, is it? The source talks about creating a protective energetic field.
Yeah, it dips into the subtle energy idea there. It suggests the focused vibration, the consistent energy of repeating these phrases can build a kind of shield around you, making it harder for negativity, internal or external, to latch on.
Like an energetic boundary.
Sort of, yeah, built through focus and repetition. And finally, the source says repetition helps to signal a clear intent to release negativity. And it says this signal goes to your psyche and potentially to the spiritual realm, too.
So it works on multiple levels depending on your perspective.
That's the idea. Psychologically, you're making your intention crystal clear to your own mind, no ambiguity. Spiritually, the source suggests it's like broadcasting your will. I am choosing freedom from this. It's a declaration.
You're putting that desire, that intent out there forcefully, consistently. And the source highlights the specific phrases from the transcript, calls them the mantra of detachment. Things like demons abandon, detach from negative malevolent entities, evil spirits flee from you.
And it explains what repeating those specific phrases is meant to achieve, according to the text. It says you can affirm sovereignty over one's own energy.
Sovereignty, taking ownership.
Exactly. You're saying, this is my space, my energy. It's not available to these influences. Taking back control.
That feels powerful just hearing it.
It's meant to be. The source also says these phrases help break cycles of negative thinking. Remember how those influences feed on fear, anger, despair?
Right.
So interrupting those thoughts with these strong, positive affirmations, it's presented as directly weakening the influence. You're cutting off the food supply.
Makes sense.
And lastly, repetition can invite in higher, more positive vibrations. The idea is, as you push out the heavy stuff, you create space. And that space can then be filled with lighter, better energy.
So it's pushing out the bad, pulling in the good, both actions at once.
In a way, yes. And the source sums up this whole practice using these mantras, calling it a powerful tool for spiritual hygiene.
Spiritual hygiene, I like that. It's like brushing your teeth, but for your energy.
That's exactly the parallel the source draws. Just like we need physical hygiene to stay healthy and comfortable, it argues our energetic or spiritual selves need regular cleaning too. And these mantras are a key tool for that maintenance.
Okay, so we understand the why of repetition. Let's move to the how. Section 4. The process of spiritual cleansing. How do you actually do this, according to the source?
Right, the practical stuff. The source lays out a clear process, and it starts absolutely fundamentally with step 1, setting the intention.
Intention first, always.
Always. All those repeated commands in the original text, detach, abandon, they are declarations of intention. The source stresses that setting your intention is the start of any act of cleansing or detachment.
So it's not just chanting words or going through motions mindlessly. You have to know why you're doing it.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing to release what no longer serves you, a deliberate choice. And the source suggests ways to set and strengthen that intention. Meditation, prayer, visualization, or ritual.
Ways to focus your mind, your will on that goal of letting go.
Yes. Before you even start smudging or chanting, you center yourself. You clearly state, maybe silently, maybe aloud, my intention is to release this fear or this pattern or this draining feeling, whatever it is.
Got it. Conscious focus first. Then what? Step 2.
Step 2 is techniques for detachment, as listed in the source. Several methods are offered. First up, affirmative mantras, which we just talked about.
Repeating phrases like demons abandon.
Right. And the source adds the instruction to speak these words aloud or silently, focusing on their meaning and your desire for freedom. It's not just rote repetition. It's about embedding the words with your focused intent and feeling.
Okay. What's next? Visualization.
Yes, visualization. The source gives a specific practice. It says to imagine a bright light surrounding you, dissolving any dark or heavy energies. So you start by picturing yourself bathed in this purifying light.
And then you see the negativity leaving.
Exactly. You see the negative entities detaching and drifting away, like visually unhooking them. You picture them separating from your energy field, floating off. And the result, you're left feeling lighter and more at peace. It's a mental movie of release and restoration.
Okay, light dissolving darkness, things detaching. Got it. What's the third technique?
physical cleansing.
Mhm.
This brings the energetic work into the physical realm.
How so?
The source explains that physical actions can really reinforce your intention. It gives specific examples. One is smudging with sage, palo santo, or incense. Using the smoke from these sacred plants to clear energy from yourself or your space. It's an ancient practice.
And cleansing baths.
Yes, taking a cleansing bath with salt and essential oils.
Mm.
Salt is a classic purifier in many traditions, and certain oils are associated with cleansing. It's a ritual bath to wash away negativity.
And even just cleaning your house.
Surprisingly, yes. Tidying and decluttering your living space. The source connects physical and energetic hygiene. It suggests a messy, cluttered space can reflect or worsen inner chaos. So clearing your physical environment helps clear your energetic environment.
That makes intuitive sense. A clean room feels better.
It does. And finally, the source lists seeking support as a technique.
Acknowledging you might need help.
Yes, it's realistic. The source says, sometimes the weight of negativity feels too great to bear alone. It advises reaching out, connecting with spiritual mentors, energy healers, or supportive communities for guidance and assistance.
So it's okay if you can't do it all by yourself. Getting help is part of the process.
Absolutely. The source presents it as a valid and sometimes necessary step. So you have these tangible actions: intention, mantra, visualization, physical cleansing, seeking support, all laid out in the source material.
And there was that other hint in the transcript. The music cues. Suggests sound is important too.
It is. Section 5 focuses right on the role of music and sound. It introduces vibrational healing. The source calls music, chanting, sound healing, ancient tools for shifting energy and clearing negativity. Sound as an active force.
How does sound shift energy, according to this?
The source mentions a few effects. It can calm the nervous system. We know music does that physiologically. A calm state is less fertile ground for fear and anxiety, right?
Right, which the negativity feeds on.
Exactly. It also says sound can disrupt stagnant or harmful energies, like using vibration to shake things loose, break up energetic blocks. And crucially, it can elevate the spirit, raising your overall vibration to a higher frequency where lower, heavier energies find it harder to stick.
So sound isn't just for mood, it's for energetic management, intervention.
That's how the source presents it. For practical use, it suggests integrating music or chanting into your spiritual practice.
And choosing sounds that match your intention.
Yes, choose sounds that resonate with your intention to cleanse and protect your energy. Not just any background music, but sounds picked purposefully for purification or protection. The source calls this creating a sacred soundscape, using sound intentionally.
Okay, this is all great, but the source makes a really important point after laying out all these techniques. This isn't a one-time thing.
No, definitely not. That leads us to Section 6, integrating the practice into daily life. The source says spiritual hygiene is an ongoing practice.
Like physical hygiene.
Exactly the parallel. Just as we bathe and clean our physical bodies, our energetic and spiritual selves require regular attention. It's about making energetic upkeep routine. A habit.
What kind of daily habits does the source suggest?
It lists a few practical ones. Maybe begin or end your day with a cleansing mantra. Just a quick affirmation to set the tone or clear the slate. It suggests doing regular energy check-ins.
What's an energy check-in, like taking your energetic temperature?
Kind of. Just pausing briefly during the day. How do I feel right now? Light, heavy, clear, muddled. Are negative thoughts running wild? It's about developing that awareness of your inner state.
And then using the tools as needed.
Yes, use visualization or sound healing as needed. If you check in and feel off, you employ a quick technique, a short visualization, putting on some specific music to reset. It's responsive.
This really requires paying attention to yourself, doesn't it? The source talks about recognizing signs of attachment.
It encourages you to stay attuned to your emotional and energetic state, like an early warning system. It lists signs that might mean negativity is getting a foothold, or you need to do some cleansing.
Like what kind of signs?
Sudden mood swings, that feeling of being thrown off balance, persistent fatigue, especially if it's not just physical tiredness, feeling off or not yourself. And again, recurring negative thoughts, especially intrusive ones.
Those sound familiar, but the source is saying these could be signals. Time to use the tools.
Yes, that's how it's presented. Signals that your energetic boundaries might need reinforcing or negativity is building up. And the action point is clear. When these arise, return to your chosen practices to restore balance.
So it's like a feedback loop. Notice the sign, apply the practice.
Exactly. Daily practice builds resilience. Responsive practice deals with flare-ups. It's ongoing vigilance and recalibration.
Okay, so if you do this consistently, the mantras, visualizations, cleansing, check-ins, what's the payoff? What's the transformation the source talks about?
That's section 7. The transformative power of release. The big outcome, the source says, is reclaiming your power.
What does that mean here? Reclaiming power.
The source defines it as becoming the guardian of your own energy. You're not just passively affected anymore. You actively manage your inner space. You become less susceptible to external influences and more aligned with your true self. The grip loosens, your authentic self shines through more. It's about energetic autonomy.
So not necessarily becoming totally immune, but becoming the active manager of your own energy field, less easily knocked off balance.
Precisely. You're in charge. And the source says when you release that negativity, you're creating space for positivity.
What fills that space then?
The source lists things like joy, creativity, love, and spiritual growth. These positive states naturally arise, it suggests, when the heavy weight of fear, anger, and despair is lifted, like clearing weeds allows flowers to grow.
So it's not just about getting rid of the bad stuff, but about making room for the good stuff to flourish.
Exactly. The source calls this the ultimate goal of spiritual detachment, living a life unburdened, open to possibility, shedding the weight, stepping into lightness and expansion.
Now, the source is careful, as we said, about different viewpoints. It anticipates skepticism.
It does. Section 8, addressing skepticism and embracing empowerment, tackles this head on. It presents the psychological perspective first.
Where demons are metaphors.
Yes. And the source connects this directly to modern psychology. It says this view is akin to cognitive behavioral therapy or mindfulness. The focus becomes managing negative thoughts and emotions.
So recognizing bad thought patterns and choosing to let them go.
Exactly. The source frames it as recognizing negative thought patterns and consciously choosing to let them go, which is core to CBT and mindfulness, training the mind.
So even if you read demons metaphorically, the practices repetition, visualization, releasing fear can still be used as powerful psychological tools for mental hygiene.
Precisely. The source validates that approach. But it also presents the spiritual perspective for those whose worldview does include literal negative entities.
How does it frame the practices then?
It calls them acts of spiritual warfare, tools to protect and purify the soul from actual external harmful forces, a more traditional view of spiritual protection.
But again, it doesn't say one is right and one is wrong.
No, it lays out both as valid frameworks for understanding the concepts and applying the practices in the text. What it does emphasize is the universal message that applies no matter what.
And what's that core message?
It's powerful. Regardless of belief system or interpretation, the core message remains. You have the power to release negativity and reclaim your well-being.
That really feels like the heart of it. It doesn't matter what you call the negativity. The point is you can do something about it.
Exactly. It puts the agency, the power for change, squarely back with you, affirming your capacity to deal with it and free yourself.
Okay, let's pull this together into some clear, practical steps for anyone listening who wants to try this, based directly on the source.
Section 9 gives us those practical steps for your spiritual cleansing journey. A summary of the actions.
Step 1, set your intention, the foundation.
Yes, and the source says, be specific. Name the emotions, habits, or energies you want to let go of. Specificity focuses your intent. Name the fear, the resentment, the procrastination. Make it concrete.
Step 2, choose your practice.
Right. Select the methods that resonate with you. Mantra, visualization, sound, ritual, whatever feels right for you. You don't have to do everything. Find your tools.
Start where you feel comfortable.
Exactly. Step 3, repeat and reinforce. The source hammers this home. Consistency is key. Make it a regular part of your routine. Spiritual hygiene needs regular upkeep. Short, regular practice is better than rare, big efforts.
Build it into your life.
Yes. And step 4, reflect and adjust.
Pay attention to what's happening.
Notice how you feel over time. Is the fatigue lifting? Are thoughts clearer? Adjust your practices as needed. Be flexible. If something isn't working, try something else or tweak how you're doing it. Listen to your own experience.
Those 4 steps give a really clear roadmap, straight from the source.
Takes it from abstract idea to concrete action you can start right now.
The source also mentions that while it's personal, you don't necessarily have to do it all alone.
Good point. That's section 10, the importance of community and support. While the work is internal, the source says it's often enhanced by community.
How does community help?
It lets you share your experiences, which validates things. You can learn from others, get new ideas, and you can offer support, which is empowering too.
Creates a sense of shared journey.
It does. And the source also stresses seeking guidance if you hit roadblocks. Don't feel you have to figure it all out alone. It suggests seeking out teachers, healers, or spiritual leaders for wisdom and assistance.
Acknowledging that sometimes you need experienced help, especially with really stubborn stuff.
Reinforces that asking for help is a strength here. Support systems are valuable resources.
Okay, thinking back to those core affirmations, demons abandon, detach. The source keeps saying you are not defined by this negativity.
That's central to Section 11, embracing a life of spiritual freedom. The source insists you are not defined by your demons or the negative energies. They are influences, not your identity.
And with intention, practice, support, all the things the source details.
You can actively detach from what holds you back. That's the promise. Freedom from the grip is possible through practice.
And the result is?
Stepping into greater freedom and fulfillment. Liberation from the weight allows for a more authentic, joyful life.
But it's ongoing, right? Not a final destination.
Absolutely not. The source is clear. It's an ongoing journey. Negativity exists, our minds create it, so maintenance is key. But it frames it positively. Each day is an opportunity to release, renew, and realign with your highest self. Continuous refinement.
So pulling it all together, what's the big takeaway from this source?
Fundamentally, the source's structure, its
Wow.
message. It's a call to action, an invitation to look at your life, see what's holding you back, whatever you call it, and take deliberate, consistent steps to release it. It's about active self-care, active energy management.
And the power isn't necessarily in believing the literal words demons or spirits, but in the intention behind the practices.
That's exactly what the source emphasizes. Whether you see it literally or metaphorically, the act of setting a clear intention to release negativity and consistently using practices aimed at that release, that is what's powerful and transformative, according to the source.
So embracing this practice.
Opens the door, the source says, to healing, growth, transformation. It gives you the tools to become the master of your own energy, to move from being gripped by negativity to guiding yourself towards a life filled with more light, love, and possibility.
And for listeners wanting to explore more, the source did mention further resources. Things like
Yeah, books on spiritual cleansing and protection for deeper dives, guided meditations for releasing negativity, practical tools, sound healing playlists and chanting resources, and supportive online communities and forums to find that connection.
lots of avenues to explore.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, directly from the source. Remember, the journey to spiritual freedom is uniquely yours. Trust your intuition, honor your process, and know that you have the power to banish negativity and embrace the fullness of your being.